Hi, my name is Garrett Christopher. This is my YouTube channel, Garrett's Movie Take. I've got three of these. That's why I paused for a second. There's this one, Garrett's Movie Take, Garrett's Sports Take, and Garrett's Take. The Sports Take, I talk about sports, NFL specifically right now, even though you have also like hockey and basketball going on, and some other sports as well that don't really matter. Um, it's football season really, because that's getting some traction into. We're like 2/3 of the way, through the season and whatnot. And in fact, we're going to talk about just who I think might be going and having a shot at the Super Bowl this year. So we'll talk about that in a little bit on a different channel. Garrett's Take, I talk about more serious things. And the last take that I did was actually me giving homage to a gentleman who was very instrumental in my kind of growing up and becoming a man. I'd be a much better man if I had heeded more of his information, but what can you do? I'm a little stubborn. In any case, please visit GarrettChristopher.com. You'll find out more about me. I'm a self-published author. I've got 5 novels now, with The Takeover Part 1, part of a sci-fi series just released a couple weeks ago, and also audiobooks on Audible and iTunes. And I do a weekly podcast, which I'm doing one of those as well today. And on the podcast right now, what I'm doing is presenting my audiobook of The Takeover Part 1 in its entirety, in pieces, of course, but you'll get the whole thing. So tune in weekly, and I'll give you some insight into what I was thinking when I was putting the book together. But yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah, big time. Well, or at least somewhat. All right. So great. Let's talk about what I saw yesterday at the theater. If you checked out a few days ago, I watched Dune, and that was really a great experience. In the theater I was in, which was in Oceanside, California, San Diego area, it was incredible. I got to go back to that theater specifically just to hear the sound system. It was just really, really good. I went yesterday to go see King Richard. I was curious. I wanted to see it. And, I am definitely a Serena Williams fan, and Venus too, but more so Serena. And I'm a Will Smith fan as well. So I thought, hey, let's check this thing out. And I'd heard, it wasn't a surprise. Going to watch the movie, I wasn't going to be surprised as what was going to happen, as far as like surprise ending. Or I'd heard about, their dad and how, almost liking him to the Jacksons, the father, Joe. Maybe not that wacky, or definitely not that slanted, but I'd heard things about how he approached things and whatnot. So going in, I did have preconceived notions as to what I was to expect, and based really on the people involved, how it was promoted, and then also some kind of comments from very, very in people, right? Tyler Perry, whom I love as well. Tyler Perry made a comment about it, and some other people as well, who I thought, okay, this is going to be something special. I sat down. I did not fall asleep, which if you followed this particular channel, you know that I fall asleep a lot in movies. And I ate before too, and I didn't fall asleep. I went to a matinee. I didn't fall asleep. I went in there expecting to see a movie that was going to be Oscar-worthy. Not that I always agree with the Oscars or who they choose as the top 8 or 9 films of the year or what have you, but I was looking for, I was looking for something more than I got. My fault. I didn't fall asleep. It was entertaining. I thought the young ladies and children that played the 5 sisters, the 5 Williams sisters, did outstanding. I think my favorite part of the movie was the banter back and forth. You had them, kind of together in his little VW bus, and then also in the home, and it was very true to form as far as I was concerned, very real. And I'm not sure who kind of arranged that, how much the kids had, as far as input, as far as how they were going to react and what they were going to do, and how they were going to kind of like talk over each other at times. And it was, to me, it was very real to life, and I really enjoyed that portion of the movie. Will Smith is Will Smith. This was a role that I thought was, it fit in well with his personality, right? And he does a great job. I like Will a lot, and it's just a great guy, and he did well. He did fine. Everyone else, and forgive me for not going down the list of all the different actors and actresses that played part in the movie, but everyone else in there, except for one particular person. And I'm not naming names for 2 reasons. One, because I have a horrible memory, didn't write any notes down before I did this particular episode. But then also, I don't want to name names. I don't want to pinpoint, because all of them did better than I could ever do in front of a camera. But I blame the director or whomever was directing the director. I'll put it that way. There were some hands in this movie that maybe when you have people that are personally connected to the subject matter, it's going to be a slant. It's going to be a slant. I think the only movie that I remember over a very famous person that maybe, to a degree, told all, and they didn't really tell all, but it was a little more true, was Ray. And even then, there were some things that weren't brought out in that movie. Not that I knew Ray Charles, but there's some things that everyone knows that it happened there that it never came out. In this case, walking away from the film, it did not meet my, like I said, notion. I didn't feel that anyone did an excellent job as far as an acting. And yet there were people that could have done. And there were scenes that were very touching. I cry a lot during movies. I expected to go in and to weep several times during this film. I'm a sucker for this type of movie. I teared up once. And it had nothing to do with the movie itself. It was a scene that involved daughters and their father. And I'm going through something right now that hit home, struck a note, a chord, and that's what caused me to weep, for a second. I kind of hit my face or whatever. Any case, okay. So someone told me last time that I need to kind of like give a synopsis or a kind of a plot. Everyone knows Venus and Serena Williams. If you don't, they are tennis, or were tennis stars. Serena still is in this case, trying to make a comeback. And they grew up in Compton, California, a very rough neighborhood. And their father and mother, whom I didn't know about that, but actually trained them up. And these girls were given from God talent, athletic talent. And then it was formed by this gentleman who, I guess he and his wife were also athletes on their own, coming up. And yeah, I wish I'd learned more. Since the movie's called King Richard, I wish I'd learned more about King Richard, about his upbringing, about how he got to where, the movie drops you into a spot where the girls are like, 11 and 9, 12 and 10. They've already been training. They already can hit a backhand like any adult out there. And you got glimpses of, and little snippets of who Richard Williams was. But I learned more about him in the outtakes than I did during the entire movie. So I'm not quite sure what the goal was. If you're going to name it King Richard and not Venus, then maybe we want to find out more about King Richard. The stuff that was portrayed, it was the same thing over and over and over again. And we get it. And I kind of felt like that too during the movie. I'm kind of like, okay, trust me, I'm not the brightest light, in the chandelier, not by any stretch. And it takes me a while to really get things, but I got it early on. Mainly because I knew already going in, which most people going to see this movie are going to know already something about that family. And then we kept on hearing this and hearing that, the same thing over and over and over again. And yet the antics weren't so over the top that it was like funny, hilarious. And they were so redundant and they were trying to be serious that it became boring after a time. So the plot is how he brought these daughters up and how he had to protect them, and how against all odds and against people who supposedly knew the path to get a young athlete to the next level, how to protect his daughters from the world, from these money-sucking agents, and get them to where they ended up being, where Venus and Serena Williams are and were incredible athletes and reached pinnacles that few have ever reached before. So kudos to that family, of course. So that's, kind of the gist of the movie, right? It's all within a 4 or 5 year time span. Okay, fine. But there was a few things that bothered me about the film. I won't see it again at this point. I can't say that I was glad that I saw it. I saw it. Okay, great. The only positive coming out of it is that now I get to talk about it a little bit, and it brought up some things. And I don't think I'm crazy entirely in realizing the fact that when you have people who are personally involved in productions, it's not going to be and not that they ever intended for this to be a tell-all, but I think going in, you wanted to kind of get in there. Any movie, whether it be fantasy, whether it be real, you wanted to dig in. You wanted to pull at the emotions, and they tried that. They tried the usual tricks where you got to find the character that is endearing to you, which in this case would have been Richard Williams. You find the struggles he's going through and some things that happened to him along the way. So great, so you pull at that. But it was so obvious, it was so evident that it didn't really bug or bother too much. And as a dad, I was set up to be in tune with this character. As a father who has daughters, here's the person right here. You want to talk about a target audience? It's me, baby. Plus on top of that, I've followed these young ladies, through their careers and have cheered for them and everything else. I was the one that should have been, man, cheering it on. And yes, 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 this is it. There's one actor who played one of the instructors. I will not say which one. And again, I blame the director, because there were scenes that I'm looking at and I'm like, you couldn't have done that take again? Are you telling me that you cut? It's a wrap. You felt that was good? And not just like one little spot. And it stuck out so much because every other character in person, it fit. It fit. Now, I felt like I was watching, to a degree, with better editing, mind you, but no, Lifetime movie to a degree. Better than that, okay? I'm not saying it was that entirely. Better than that, and better acting, of course, for sure. The people you had in there. And again, let me say again, these young ladies who played the parts of Venus, Serena, and their three sisters did an excellent job. I really enjoyed them. A lot of fun. But there were a couple of scenes, the facial responses and the reactions from this actor, and I've seen him before, and I can't say it caught me one way or the other, but in this particular case, in this role, I'm like, wow. Either you need to do the take again, or cut. We cast incorrectly. This is not the right person for this role. You can put a bowl cut on anyone. I used to have a bowl cut when I was coming up. I'm not a good actor, but I used to have a bowl cut. So it bothered me. The music, which is very important to me in a film, especially something that's supposed to be tugging at heartstrings or whatever like that, was, I don't know. Right now, I'm watching episodes of one of my favorite shows of all time called House. And you might say, oh boy, we're going to listen to this guy who watches House. Okay, I get it. But there are some episodes in that show, that are really, really good. I'm listening to better musical accompaniment on that show, that Fox television show, than I did in this movie. That's odd. And it wasn't just instrumentation. You've got the usual strings and a little bit of, keys and that kind of a thing. Okay, great. That's the stuff that you do when you want someone to feel the emotion of the sadness or whatever. Yeah, you put the strings in there. I get it. But the arrangement, again, that took me to, someone was not looking to make this an Oscar-worthy film. They were looking to make it a film that was going to talk about whatever, and whoever made these decisions, to me, in my estimation, and it's my channel, didn't even try to poke outside the box at all. It was mediocre at best. I wouldn't go see it if I were you. Maybe catch it when it comes out, on streaming or whatever, Blu-ray or 4K, whatever. But yeah, there's nothing visually magical, which that made sense. There was nothing, as far as audio wise, which perhaps the score could have been Although this movie didn't really land, the plot didn't land toward that, like Dune. Totally different. I get it. I'm not looking for that. But when the person who is creating the score is there, right, with the producer, director, whatever, and they're going through and editing, and okay, what do you feel? And this, like the man, take me somewhere. Take me somewhere. You have Will Smith as your lead actor in this movie. You have, portraying a character that, or at least a dad of daughters that the whole world around knows, right? How come we didn't dig in, make this something special? I think you had the makings for it to be, as far as who you were putting together, who was putting it together. I mean, to me, it just wasn't a question of money. At the end, if you look at who was involved, it wasn't just Will. There's other people too involved that have a lot of money or a lot of pull. But maybe they had to struggle to get this thing out. Maybe people thought that it wasn't going to be marketable. Well, perhaps. Even then, I don't know. I have a hard time thinking that certain people sat in the final cut and really felt like, okay, this is something. I didn't get that impression at all. Can you tell I didn't like it too much? I didn't. So the different, scoring I usually give them that are like that, truthfully, across the board, C to C minus, D plus in some cases. Acting was fine. There were some good scenes. Where I'd give some scenes, A minus, B plus. The banter with the girls, whoever worked that out, did a heck of a job. Like I said, whether it was their input or someone was, hey, do this, do that, and do that like that, I'll give that an A. Across the board, after that, C minus. Very forgettable. A very forgettable film as far as I'm concerned. So that's how I felt about it. I think today, this afternoon, I'm going to go and see the Ghostbusters movie. I'm excited about that. The trailers look really, really cool. So I'll let you know how I felt about that one. But you've seen these episodes before that I'm giving out. If you haven't, please check out those. I'm not always a Donald Downer. I'll give credit where credit is due. This bums me out. And I think I set myself up for failure. I think I really did, because I really thought going in, just based on what I'd heard and what I'd seen, what I'd read, this was going to be something special. I looked for that. It didn't happen. Not at all. So, very forgettable film. Very forgettable. So, in any case, hey, my name is Garet Christopher. That was my take on King Richard. And there you have it. Please visit GaretChristopher.com. GaretChristopher.com. And whenever you visit, whether it be here at my other channels, I've got my Gmail address, GaretChristopher@gmail.com. Let me know. Say hello. Hey, I'm talking real. I'm giving a thumbs up or thumbs down. Same thing from me. I told someone at my job, a customer came in and she had a book in her hand. I was like, hey, here, check this out. Let me know. I want to know, good, bad, or indifferent. Let me know what you think. Yeah, the bad ones hurt, but you know what? You need that. You need to hear what's going on out there, because some people just tell you what you want to hear, so you'll shut up. All right, there you have it. Hey, take care and have a great day. GoPro, stop recording.